Hello, and welcome back to the last episode of the season for Visiting Dugout. We are back to where we started with the Tigers and my friend Walker to discuss said Tigers. Thank you for returning and also for being my starting episode this miserable season.
You can blame it on me. I'll take the brunt of it. It was my fault that the White Sox uh, had this season. I'm cleansing it by coming back. This is going to end it, and next season will be a fresh start.
It's kind of like how everyone said once the Cubs won the World Series, it all kind of just went to shit, and how they just needed to reverse it somehow, and then the world would have been saved.
Maybe the White Sox are saving the world.
Oh goodness, that's a scary thought. Anyway, so your team is still technically alive. So what's new with the Tigers?
A lot. It's been a wild ride. Sellers at the trade deadline for sure. Moved Jack Flaherty to the Dodgers. He's had a fantastic season. He's probably going to be their game one starter in the playoffs. That one hurt, but we did get a couple of good prospects back, one of whom, Trey Sweeney, is our starting shortstop now all of a sudden because Baez is long-term injured.
Yeah, that was woof.
He finally started playing well and then immediately got hurt. Classic. But it's been wild. We've been bringing up pitchers from AAA. We had 2 starting pitchers for a while, and we were doing 3 bullpen days in a row, and yet somehow they've gone 28-11 in their last 39 games and are in playoff position. It's just something new every day. I've never really experienced anything like this as a Tigers fan. Back when we used to be good, it was because we bought and traded for the team. And now we are developing players and it's a very holistic approach, and it's very different. It's weird to be I don't want to say team of destiny, but it's weird to be the team that randomly gets hot at the end of the year and sneaks in. I've never seen that from the Tigers before, and I think it's a validation of the young core, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to take credit. I was just a year ahead of schedule saying I think the Tigers are going to put it together and they're going to maybe even make it to the postseason. And again, I was just a year early on saying that, but I think I manifested that for you.
Well, I appreciate that because I didn't predict this. I mean, they have already. I predicted on the first show 82-80, and they have 83 wins with 5 games left. So, everything from this point on is cherry on top. It's been a fantastic season.
Yeah, for sure. It's been fun to kind of watch from a distance. I know my sweet mother-in-law who still watches White Sox games. She does, but for Mother's Day, she got an MLB TV subscription just so that she could listen and watch Tigers games for Jason Benetti.
Yes.
But yeah, so she was watching a ton of Tigers games this season because she loves him, and she was like, "They're close enough. I can watch them."
Yeah, it's we'll accept anybody on the bandwagon. No fan is too new for us at this point.
We've been discussing in one of the group chats, people that know me know Keelan, Colleen, and Janice, and we've been, well, maybe we should shop for a new American League team. And Janice, I'll give her credit, she did say the Tigers, and I said, I like the way they run that organization. It's a cool ballpark, and their players typically don't suck. They're not bad people, so I support it.
Yeah, that tends to be, I don't know why, but it usually, except for the Red Wings, they don't give a shit at all.
Yeah.
But the other 3 teams tend to try not to sign bad people, which I don't know if that's a organization top-down plan or if it just happens that way, but I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. And I, go back always to what they did with Austin Meadows and just very openly embracing him and, trying to defeat some of the stigma around, mental illness and anxiety. And after that, I was like, you know what? I respect everything that this team does. And you got, the guy that was supposed to come to the White Sox, but apparently wasn't even interviewed, despite his name being on the Tony La Russa graphic.
And is that Harris or
Hinch.
Hinchy? Okay, yeah. I, and I will say a lot of Tigers fans were not very convinced about Hinch before this season. I was one of them. I thought he was good at certain things, pretty deficient in other areas. He's really done a great job this year, especially with the bullpen management. I think that's been the biggest thing. We all knew that it's been documented since its Houston days that he has this weird ability with pinch hitters. That was always his specialty. He's good at picking pinch hitters, but this year he's had the same like Midas touch with the bullpen. It's just been different guy after different guy after different guy. I mean, Alex Lang was our closer to start the season. He hasn't even been on the team since May. It's just bullpen by committee, and I don't really understand why or how it's working. I mean, I wish I had better analysis for it, but it's just like, oh yeah, we called up this guy from AAA who sucked last season. Now he's good.
And that's one crucial thing because, I mean, if your bullpen is terrible, especially if it's a close game, you're screwed. And I've been watching it all season, and our bullpen wasn't even that bad. Like I thought it was decent, but I mean, if you mismanage that, and I know that's all Pedro did in his time here, was completely mismanage our bullpen, and then boom, you're at 120 losses. Not that it's entirely the bullpen or his fault, but it's weird how the bullpen is a lot better now that Pedro is gone and someone else.
When you had guys like Kopech before, who was actually a talented pitcher.
Yeah. Oh, that kind of made my heart swell a bit because I have always been an apologist for him because I've been watching him since his time in the minors, and I was like, he's really good. He's got the stuff. He just needs someone that understands how to work with him. And then I was just constantly like, no, he's got it. Leave him alone. And then he goes to the Dodgers, and he's just destroying hitters. And I'm like, see, I told you it was there. He needed someone better.
Yeah, I mean that his calling has always been as a back end reliever with that kind of. I mean, he throws flames, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but when you have a wipeout breaking ball along with that, I mean, you can be a 2-pitch pitcher for an inning or two, and he's really good with those 2 pitches.
Yeah, he's excellent. So I'm happy he's thriving. I'm happy all of the pitchers that have left the White Sox are just thriving and happy and could be up for a Cy Young this year. Just, never happens for the White Sox, but that's okay. Speaking of, I mentioned Jason Benetti earlier. How has he been this season? How are people adjusting to him? Are they being mean?
No, he is very beloved in Detroit already. He's actually, because he does national stuff too with college football, college basketball. He had a college football assignment this weekend, and he's going to skip it to call the end of season Tigers games because of them being in the playoff hunt. And I mean, he's just been unbelievable. He brings out the best in whoever the color commentator is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot of facts, so I'm not going to get into the whole Craig Monroe situation. But he has been on indefinite leave for a long time. And so we've just been rotating through. I mean, we've had Dan Petrie, we've had Kirk Gibson, we've had Andy Dirks, Carlos Pena, and it doesn't matter. He has that rapport with everybody, and he has that ability to keep the conversation going, even if it's not about baseball, even if it's silly. And he'll make fun of himself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the endearing part is that like, yeah, he'll mess with who he's calling the game with, but he'll also it's never malicious. He's always going to direct any blame toward himself and all that. And it's just he's a genuine dude. He loves sports. He loves baseball. I couldn't be happier to have him. thank you to Reinsdorf.
Yeah, we're not finding his jokes funny. If he can sit down with Steve Stone and make a broadcast great, like this curmudgeon that Steve Stone has turned into, then you're amazing in my book already. But I think what really sealed the deal was the Bill Walton broadcasts that he did, which were just a blast. I think that really just kind of put him out there for everyone to see. I mean, again, he's done so many other things, but it was more niche because not everybody's watching the White Sox. Nobody cares about the White Sox. But that whole thing with Bill Walton was just so much fun, and he's always fun with guests that come in too. So I'm glad that people love him and have embraced him because he was, like he was the reason my mother-in-law was still watching White Sox games despite her disappointment. Because I still get the texts from her occasionally, like, "Why am I still watching this team?"
I see you post those every now and then. It's like, yeah, that sounds like my grandma when the Tigers suck.
Yeah, she's hilarious with it. All right, well, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we can talk about the last series of the season. My bottle is making noises. All right, we are back. If you were on YouTube, sorry for that dead air. So we'll start with these pitching matchups. I just actually read today that Grady Sizemore is moving Garrett Crochet's start back so that he can face the Tigers, since the Tigers are actually a competitive team. Let's not waste them on the Angels. So you will see Garrett Crochet on Friday. And then you'll see Sean Burke. I can't really tell you a single thing about him. But then we end the series with Jonathan Cannon, who is our rookie, who has been phenomenal. So what can we expect from the Tigers' end?
The Tigers are being kind of secretive about their plans for their pitchers against the White Sox. What I can absolutely tell you, you will not see Cater Montero. He's pitching tonight. You will not see Reese Olson. He's pitching tomorrow night. So if the Tigers have already clinched a playoff spot by the last game of the season, you won't see Tarek Skubal either. If the Tigers are playing for a playoff spot, he will start game 162 against Cannon. The game that concerns me the most on paper is Crochet against either Casey Mize or a bullpen game. Mize is our worst starting pitcher. He's never turned into the pitcher he was supposed to be coming out of Auburn. Really kind of incredible that the Tigers have almost assuredly, I'm not quite giving up on Torkelson yet, but almost assuredly whiffed on 2 first overall picks and are still developing good players.
Yeah.
It's very odd, but Crochet has obviously been incredible. I mean, you called it at the start of the season. I knew he was talented, but I didn't know how it would translate as a starter. You also called Reynaldo Lopez, to be fair. I didn't think that was going to work either, but Reynaldo's been fantastic. But Crochet is, he's a strikeout machine. He's throwing 99-mile-an-hour sinkers now. He's a lot like Skubal. He's a little bit less control, but the power and the movement and the domination is there. And Mize just he's been gutting through if he starts, getting 4 innings, 5 innings, 2 runs, but he just gives up a lot of base runners. He's only got 2 good pitches, and he just has never been able to develop a good breaking ball. You drafted him because the splitter was so good. And now he throws 98 miles an hour, which is great, but that's all he's got. His slider just sits there. His curveball, you can never throw for a strike. So he's going to put guys on base whenever you face him. I think I'd probably rather put him against Burke. And since Burke is very new, I know he's got good stats so far, but he's hardly pitched. I would rather go up against a newbie with him and do a bullpen game against Crochet, which is weird to say, but the Tigers have been oddly good in bullpen games. They're bulk pitchers in the bullpen games. Their openers have had trouble, but the bulk pitchers have been really good, especially Brant Herter. He was the Tigers' number 12 prospect coming into this season. just due to injuries to starting pitchers, he had to be called up in like early August, and he's pitched to a sub-3 ERA since he came up.
Wow.
He's a big lefty who doesn't throw very hard. He only throws 93, but he's got a sweeper that breaks like 2 feet, and he just drops it on the corner, and you can't hit it. I don't know when he's going to turn into a pumpkin at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know when it's going to happen. Right, but we're riding the wave right now with him, and then once you get to the back end of the bullpen, those guys have been nails. But yeah, that runs are going to be at a premium in that game. I feel like against Crochet, he's going to be pumped up. He's a damn good pitcher. So
the only way that you might kind of escape that is that he is now on a pitching limit.
Oh.
He typically goes about 4 innings because, again, now that Grafal's gone and Grady has taken over, he's being smarter with his players, and obviously because this season was his first as a starting pitcher, they don't want to completely blow his arm out and overextend it with the pitches. So he probably will only go about 4 innings.
Okay. And I mean, I think that probably even increases his dominance level in a shorter outing because he can throw harder and really juice his good pitches. I mean, I would expect four zeros from Crochet on Friday, and then you just hope you can get to the pen.
That's fair. Yeah. Again, the bullpen has been surprisingly decent, but then again, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm saying they're decent just because the games have been closer recently. I mean, we beat the Angels twice now. That's a big deal. But at the same time, we don't have a single player right now that's like hitting the ball in the air. Maybe Andrew Benetti, which is humiliating because all I want to do is talk crap about him every single day. But there is just no real offense for this team. So I think anybody could get to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Tigers bullpen will probably mow through the White Sox lineup pretty comfortably. It's just the early in the game, I'm a little concerned about Mize, and I'd be a little concerned about the openers. They've been a little iffy. Bo Brisky's way better at the end of the game than at the start of the game for unexplainable reasons. But they love to use him as an opener, even though he's not very good at it. It's like the only thing they've been doing stupid lately. And then the only real wild card you've got on the Tigers end in terms of pitching is we did just bring up Jackson Jobe, our top pitching prospect. He's 21 years old, started the season in Double-A, I believe. He is a flamethrower, and he's going to pitch out of the bullpen for us for the last 2 series. I don't know how much he'll get into games, but he throws up to 102 miles an hour, and he has a wipeout changeup. So if he's only pitching an inning at a time, you're going to see some electric stuff. Whether that gets guys out, I have no idea. He looked good in spring training, but that's all I've seen of him. And then, all the other, the starting pitchers, it's out there. I mean, everybody knows what you're getting from Casey Mize, and everybody knows what you're getting out of Skubal if you see him. I mean, he's not really fooling anybody. He just blows them away.
Do you think he's going to take home the Cy Young? Do you feel confident in that?
Very at this point. I think with his performance yesterday, he went 7 innings through over 100 pitches for I think only the second time all season. Last pitch was a 97-mile-an-hour painted fastball that struck out Christopher Morel. Yeah, two hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts in 7 innings, and no runs. I mean, he's the most dominant starting pitcher in the American League. The only pitcher you could even say is as dominant as he is probably Emmanuel Clase for Cleveland. But being a reliever, he just doesn't have the opportunity to make the impact on the game that Skubal does. Skubal has pitched 3 times the innings. So I I don't think it's going to be close. You might see one or two Class A votes, but I think Skubal's going to win it going away. And at this point, I mean, he deserves it. It's interesting how the two Cy Young winners are basically the same guy in terms of how they pitch. Because in the NL, it's almost assuredly going to be Sale.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my hope, is that it's going to be Sale.
Well, he's been incredible for the last 2 months. I mean, it looks like old Sale again.
Which is wild because, he was so young, doing that first when he was just so dominant. And now he's like 36, I think, is when I checked, and just pitching out of his mind, pitching like he's not aged a single day in his life. And I love it for him, because I will always have love for him.
He's one of those guys who he's incessantly always tinkering, always getting a little better. And he's been able to adjust his pitching style as he's gotten older, and he can't push his arm as hard as he used to be able to. Now he's more finesse, and it still works. He's unbelievable. I mean, if he would have stayed healthier, he probably would have been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I think that it's such a bummer that he did go through so many things, because easily he belongs there, but it is what it is. Sometimes it just happens. I mean, I feel the same way with Jacob deGrom. Had he stayed healthy,
yeah, I agree with
example
that.
Of someone that should have made the Hall of Fame, but
no, I mean, both of those guys would be right alongside like a Max Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but should we go into the lineup maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Who do you think is really a big threat on this team right now for the White Sox?
My biggest concern when you face the White Sox is Andrew Vaughn. When he hits the ball square, he absolutely tattoos it. I mean, it's just, he's so strong and hits the ball so well. It's a wonder why he hasn't had better numbers, in my opinion. But when he's, and I know you said that they're having trouble hitting the ball in the air right now. It's a lot of ground balls. That kind of does play into how the Tigers pitch, but if Vaughn gets one up in the air, it's probably gone or in the gap. So he always scares me. And then a couple of your younger guys. I mean, I like your catcher, Corey Lee. Is he playing still? Okay. Yeah. He's given us quite a bit of trouble this year as well. So those would be the two guys I'd be really looking at. Like we be careful with these guys. Make sure we're pitching low in the zone, trying to make sure we get ground balls.
There's a new one. Brian Ramos has been up recently, and he's actually getting more at bats. They're not putting Moncada in, and I kind of stand by it. I mean, it's time to give the younger people bats, because I don't think Moncada is gonna be here next season.
He is a free agent, right?
Yeah, and he's been injured all season, so it's been Miguel Vargas, who please stop. But then Brian Ramos has been taking some time at third, and he's actually hitting the ball. He's kind of got more energy finally. And then Lenyn Sosa, who I love to talk bad about. Every single time I do it, he gets a home run. So I think I just need to trash him all weekend.
I liked the last series we played against the White Sox. I liked Sosa as I think he could be a really good reserve infielder and like spot starter, because he brings the energy. He's very good out in the field. He made quite a few great plays at second base against us. Even a couple at third. He's a good player out there. Not the greatest hitter in the world, but he's got a little lightning in his bat when he gets a hold of one. So I don't think there's anything wrong with him being in the long-term plans, at least as a backup.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. He could. I don't ever want to lose Nicky Lopez. I love him, but he could be that more utility player, I think. And I'd be fine with it. But man, he had been so frustrating the last month or so.
Yeah.
Just swearing at him on my screen.
Yeah, and I mean it seems like the Tigers have almost made the whole infield out of those utility guys right now. To transition over to the Tigers lineup, I mean, it's third base has been a rotating cast of characters all season. We DFA'd Gio Urshela a month and a half ago. He went to Atlanta. He's been playing because Austin Riley's injured.
Mm-mm.
But so then we called up Jace Young, who's Josh Young's younger brother. He's like Josh is like the perfect specimen super athlete, and Jace is like the scrappy younger brother. His fatal flaw is that he plays third base and can't throw from third base to first base. His arm is just truly horrendous. I think if he plays third at any point, which he probably will during the series, you'll see him like hop a ball over that he throws his whole body into, and it's really sad to watch. But otherwise, he's a good player. He plays really hard. He's a great base runner. He walks all the time, even though he hasn't hit a home run yet. He's on base like 1 out of every 3 times. So I think if you played him at second base, he could be a long-term player. But I mean, he looks like me trying to throw from third to first. It's terrible. Almost the opposite with Trey Sweeney, who never walks, but he's hit some home runs and he can field. He's pretty slick with the glove at shortstop. He's got a weird throwing motion that kind of looks like he's almost pushing the ball, but he gets it over there. And he's even been batting against lefties some. And then you've got the usual cast of characters who play every once in a while. Zach McKinstry, Andy Ibanez are still around. Ibanez will play against lefties. He's the lefty killer, but against righties, he's terrible. Pretty much the opposite of Kerry Carpenter, who's incredible against righties and can't hit lefties at all. And then Torkelson at first base is still a black hole, honestly. I mean, he hits the occasional home run. He's improved his 2-strike approach, but he just misses pitches down the middle way too often. He'll get a mistake and he'll just foul it off. And it's pretty hard to watch sometimes. The only guy who's been consistent all year really is Colt Keith, our 22-year-old rookie. He started off the season rough, ended up hitting 260, I think.
Yeah, he's been fun to watch. I mean, we've seen the Tigers 87 times this season, and he seemed to kind of brutalize the White Sox, at least in the last series that we had. I was so aggravated with him by the time that series was over.
He's a really annoying hitter too, because if you throw him soft stuff in the zone, he'll hit it out to right field. But if you throw him fastballs, he'll just swat it to left field for singles all day. It's the most annoying thing to watch when other players do it. Mm-hmm. It's just like, man, stand in there and hit, take a hack at it. But no, I'm just going to like swat it between shortstop and third. I'll take my single.
It's that he gets on base method.
Yeah. It's a smart approach. I mean, I've been impressed by how much he's willing to just take what the defense gives him at 22 years old. He's not up there trying to haul off and hit the ball 500 feet. So that's been nice. I still think he probably would be better off playing first long-term. He's not the best second baseman. He's kind of tall and gangly and doesn't really move all that gracefully out there, but he's a good athlete, so he gets by. But I think he's made like 15 errors this season. I mean, I would like to see him play first, Young play second, and then, I don't know, figure out third base. Sign Alex Bregman.
Oh, gosh. There you go. Yeah, we've had similar issues. I mean, third base for the White Sox has been everyone under the sun. Mm-hmm. And second, I mean, most of the time it's Nicky Lopez, and he's like okay, but then they're throwing like the young guys out there. I just lost this kid's name, but he looks like my son. They could be the same age, and my son is 14 now. But he just came up, and that was bad. That was a bad experiment.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
like when we play Ryan Kreidler.
Yeah. It's not fun to watch those. Andrew Vaughn, I feel like, is the only infielder that I really trust at this point, mm-hmm. because, I mean, you can rely on him. He's going to catch the ball, but usually whoever is at third or even second, I'm just like, come on, we've got to like learn fundamentals of baseball. Like, let's go back to T-ball where we all learn what we're supposed to do, because you're not doing it. And I mean, just last night in the infield, there was, I can't remember who. Oh, there we go.
Oh, hey.
I don't know what happened. That was strange.
It's just loading for like 7 seconds.
I know, that was really weird. But yeah, I mean, it's Cannon. It lands right behind him. Vargas is there. Lopez is there, I think. And it was just, they all just watched it. Watch. Nobody called it. They just watched. And that keeps happening, especially kind of in that second shortstop area. It just drops in front of them and they're like, oh, or there's like a collision. And I'm like, friends.
No communication. Yeah.
We have to yell. We have to call for the ball. That they teach you that day one.
Yeah. I mean, the Tigers have had some collisions recently. I mean, Trey Sweeney made a great play to save one of the games against the Orioles and absolutely just rammed right into a sliding Riley Green and flipped over. I mean, miracle that he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And then Parker Meadows is throwing himself around out in center field. He's robbed a couple home runs in the last couple weeks. Obviously, that's a fantastic story as well, being Austin Meadows' younger brother, who was already a prospect with the Tiger system when we got Austin. And for him to have blossomed into this everyday center fielder that we can trust, leading off, I think that's fantastic. I hope Austin's enjoying that.
I love the Meadows boys, both of them. I'd watched Austin again since his minor league days in the Pirates farm system. So he's fun. I adore him. So what are the keys for the Tigers to win this series? Because again, the White Sox will randomly just look decent on paper sometimes.
Yeah, I would say in terms of the pitching, I think the biggest thing is to make the White Sox beat you with their bats. Don't give them free base runners. Keep the walks to a minimum would be my main thing. Throw strikes, trust your defense. In terms of at the plate, I don't know if they need it. I mean, they haven't been scoring that many runs. It's been a lot of close, like 2-1, 4-3 type games that they've been winning the last couple of weeks, but their approach all season has been patience, wait for your pitch and attack it. I don't know if they're going to be making any big changes at the plate coming into this series. It's really not a great offense, to be honest. There's not many average hitters in terms of like hitting a high average. There's not many of those guys in the lineup. It's a lot of, doubles hitters, guys who like to hit home runs, stuff like that. The highest average on the team is of any of the guys who have played enough to be considered is like 262 for Riley Green. So pretty low. I think it's just going to be really focusing in, making sure that you're getting your pitch, not expanding the zone.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot where my mute button was there. My contact is driving me nuts. And with that, what kind of fears do you actually have heading into this series, if any? I know this question has become kind of a joke throughout the last few months, but sometimes there are valid fears.
No, I mean, the White Sox have some guys in the lineup who can hit the ball hard. And so our pitchers in their quest to get ahead in the count, throw strikes, that's a big sticking point with our coaching staff is first pitch strikes. Sometimes you let one leak over the middle. Those mistakes can be punished by this lineup. And then, yeah, if they're fighting for a playoff spot, this is a young team. They have not been in this scenario before. if they start to get a little antsy at the plate, they're going to start expanding the zone against guys like Crochet, guys like Cannon. You can't do that because they'll dominate you. They have good enough stuff to make you swing if you're too aggressive. So I think inexperience showing up would be my biggest fear, where the White Sox have nothing to lose, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's a division rival. A lot of these guys are playing for a spot next year. And you have a team who is in this position where they're expected to win all of a sudden. And can they handle it? I think that's the biggest question.
Yeah, no, that's completely valid. I didn't even think about that and a lot of the White Sox are, I mean, there are a ton that just came from AAA, but there are also a ton of just veterans on this team that are just there for a year hanging out. I did have to boast though on our young guys because the Birmingham Barons just won the Southern League title, so we've got something good brewing.
What class is that?
I think they're single A.
Single A. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're double A. They're double A.
Oh, double A. Okay. Yeah, our double A team, the Erie Seawolves, they won the Northern or Eastern League or something like that. I don't remember, but they won their league. And the rookie ball team in Lakeland won their league too. Which who cares? But no, I think honestly both farm systems for each of our respective teams are, I would say you're more encouraged about them at the end of the season than you would have been at the start of the season.
Yeah. And it's good to see that they're growing. It's also kind of funny what a year without Chris Getz looks like for our farm system. But that's just, he was so terrible at his job.
Yeah. I mean, going from Alavila to Scott Harris, I don't know how great Scott Harris is yet. I think it's too early to judge, but he at least like understands what he's trying to do. He's not just like throwing darts at the wall randomly. The competence level just being a little higher, it's been a big relief.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap this up, where are you at with, wild card spots, playoffs in general? Who do you think could go all the way?
I mean, I think in the AL, it's very wide open.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it would be the Yankees and the Guardians would get the buys. Houston's already in the 3 seed; they can't move, so we'd play Houston if this season ended today. We have not played very well against Houston this year, but we are healthier and playing better baseball than they are right now. So that one, I think, is a toss up. Then Baltimore would probably beat Kansas City with how bad Kansas City's been lately.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a wild card team in the AL, I would say Baltimore is probably the most likely one. They're getting healthier right now. They've got good pitching and good young hitting, plus an MVP style type player in Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah.
They could definitely do it in the AL. And then in the NL, I mean, the Padres have been incredibly hot, and they have star power all over the field. I could definitely see a Baltimore San Diego World Series.
That would be really fun, actually. I would love that. I wouldn't know who to cheer for, honestly.
Yeah, me neither.
I like both teams enough.
I love Adley Rutschman. I love Jurickson Profar. So it's tough.
I feel like I'd have to go with, the Padres just because of Dylan Cease, but at the same time, I don't know, because I love both of them. Also, with the Orioles, did you see what they did for Jackson? Yeah.
Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, they gave him non-alcoholic champagne and like made him sit in the corner, and he was like not involved in the champagne celebration at all.
And I love the little board they had. It was like baby's first clinch, and then clearly very poorly drawn Orioles birds on the wall. I was like, that's amazing, actually.
This is so good. They're just like, hey, we got to make fun of Jackson. Young guys got to get some extremely low tier hazing.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. I think that team is just really fun. Like they've
Mhm.
been really fun all season, and it helps that they've got these guys who are just absolutely incredible on the field. And then again, it's kind of that like work hard, play hard scenario that you've got with that team because they are so good. And then they're just so much fun outside of just playing on that team. I mean, I can sit there and watch videos of Adley just being a goof all day because there's so many of them. He's got like the MLB store where he's like going up to random people. And then there's another video. It's like 5 minutes of him just quoting, I think you should leave. And people being so confused by it because they're not watching that show.
Sounds like him. Yeah.
I love it.
He's such a stereotypical catcher, like weird guy. It's so funny.
Yeah. He's
Um,
great.
so yeah, that would be my wild card prediction. I think I always tend to predict like the nightmare scenario so that if it doesn't happen, I'm happy. Um, so I think I'll predict Yankees Phillies because I don't want that.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously I want the Tigers to win, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, realistically, I think I'm a Padres fan.
No, that's fair. The White Sox just played them and they were excellent. And again, they've got a bunch of good guys. I'll never forget all of the players the White Sox were supposed to have or got rid of that are still great to this day. But that's just me being really bitter.
And that's fair. I think you've earned it.
Thank you. Thank you. As we record this, the White Sox are about an hour away from what could be their 121st loss, breaking the record that they're currently tied with the 1962 Mets. So it's a sad existence.
I hope the White Sox continue to win until they play the Tigers. That's what I'm a White Sox fan temporarily.
Thank you for that.
No
Thank
problem.
you. I still think it would be hilarious if they just didn't lose another game for the rest of this season because that would be so White Sox.
It would be funny, honestly. Even as a Tigers fan, I would have to admit that there would be some dark humor to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be good. Just a way to, you can't even fail, right?
You guys don't even suck, right?
Oh, man. Well, thank you again for coming back. Obviously, best of luck. If you guys are able to make it, I'll be rooting for you as a secondary American League team because
Thank you.
I do love it up there. But yeah, so we will, talk again next season. Best of luck.
Yeah. Best of luck to you as well. And yeah, go Tigers.
All right. Bye.
Bye.